Fraser with you. We are live right now on the Pure West Radio Facebook page. Fraser, great to chat to the Haverfordwest chairman, Rob Edwards. And, you know, you can hear the excitement, the pride in his voice as well. And that was some night last Thursday, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's everything he came to Haverfordwest for, wasn't it? You know, for 4 nights like that. But even that, I don't think he could have dreamed would have gone as well as it did. Oh, it's been huge. It's, you know, it's a coin a phrase to put the club on the map, but the interest in this has been national. You know, to put it mildly, you've seen actually the BBC, so many, the Athletic as well. You know, well-established media, national media, international media actually picking up on it. And
yeah.
So it's been tremendous publicity for the club, and it has been well deserved. And there'll be a big buzz now around this second round because of what happened. And Rob's right. If they can go to the Faroes and stay in the tie again, I think they'll get a good crowd again in Cardiff and get a lot of excitement around it.
And actually, it does generate some interest as well in the start of the season, because I watched that game on Thursday and just thought, actually, this looks quite a useful team that Tony Pennock's put together. And Tony, I think, is doing an excellent job. And you heard Rob say that, you know, how he set the team up. You look at Zach Jones as the obvious one. He was outstanding. You think if he keeps that up, there will be teams looking at him, because he could do a job in League Two and League One, playing like that.
Yeah, he was a little too outstanding, perhaps, from a Haverfordwest point of view in the last couple of months. But no, you're absolutely right. It's a chance for players as well to put themselves in the shop window, isn't it? You know, they're showcasing themselves to a bigger audience than they usually would. So, you know, they've all stood up, and it'll certainly bode well going into the season. It will be difficult to manage it now that they've got it. Rob spoke about there. They've got to have the balance now about taking momentum into the season. Of course, managing the fatigue and the emotional toil. It would have been a heck of a come down now from the other night on Thursday. Not to mention the physical toll. We talked about players going cramp and going off injured. So they will now have to be careful about the training point of view, how they manage these next few weeks, especially given where they might be in Europe now when the season actually starts. But, you know, it's a nice problem to have, and it's one they would have taken last season, that's for sure.
It's some pre-season, isn't it? Let's be fair. Going to North Macedonia, going to the Faroe Islands and playing seriously competitive matches is some pre-season. And I think they deserve a lot of credit on and off the pitch for how they've navigated that. So good luck to the Bluebirds on Thursday in the Faroes. That's a 7 p.m. kickoff, and Rob Edwards confirming on Pure West Sport tonight that Cardiff City will host the game. We didn't cover it with him on this occasion, but we have done in the past. I know on social media a few questions about why the Oggy Bridge Meadow isn't able to stage it. I think that's just simply due to European regulations. That Rob's been very open about that. He would love to see European football played in Haverfordwest, but he wasn't able to on this occasion. And they basically looked for the next available stadium, and they asked around, and it's all about availability. And that's why they ended up in Cardiff. And as you said, Fraser, good to see the Bluebirds successful in Cardiff as well. I think you quite enjoyed that one. So good luck to them. We are right behind them on Pure West. Let's just have a look at what else has been going on in Pembrokeshire, and actually what hasn't been going on as well, because it was a frustrating weekend for the cricket, wasn't it, on Saturday, Fraser?
Yeah, since the first complete washout of the calendar, since I think the second week of the 2021 season. So it's been a while, been 2.5 years like that run. But yeah, it came down very heavy on Saturday morning, and no play was possible anywhere. You know, you look at the top of Division 1, it obviously it will suit all 3 leaders at the moment, actually, to have that Neyland, Haverfordwest and in Division 3 Pembroke. They inch a step closer on Saturday because of the washout. But there's plenty of cricket that did go on last week, of course. We know the Harris and Allen finalists now. Neyland, they beat Carew, and having beaten Narberth and the Dougie Morris the previous Sunday, and 2, you know, pretty, I wouldn't say mediocre, but certainly lowish totals to defend for a Dougie Morris final and then a Harris and Allen semi-final. But they're just so good in those situations. They hold their nerve, their intent in the field, and they squeeze the life out of Narberth and then Carew. And they'll play Lawrenny in the final now, who are back there. They beat Saundersfoot. And there's unfinished business for Lawrenny. They've been to 2 Harris and Allen finals in recent years and not got over the line in either of them. But they'll be determined, but I'd make Neyland clear favourites at the moment. I can't see beyond the Neyland treble at the moment.
They're looking good for it, aren't they? Absolutely. So that's the 26th of August, the Harris and Allen final. So we'll have plenty of build-up to that. Just about a month away. Fraser back in Neyland for the treble. It does look likely they're in fine form right now. Let's mention a couple of other things that happened cricket-wise as well. In the first hour, you had a really good interview. The MCC, famous cricketing name, brought a side down to Hook, didn't they? On Thursday. That's as part of the club's 100th anniversary. And that's a good occasion, isn't it? And in cricketing circles, quite an honour to have an MCC side in Pembrokeshire.
The MCC have been superb, to be honest. I think that they're written off as maybe some kind of upper class hierarchy, and it's not that at all. They came down to Llanrhian of all places. Last year we went from Lords to a cow field, which was quite something for our anniversary. They played the Pembrokeshire County side. They beat them in Carew on Thursday, and then they came to Hook on Friday. And if you speak to them and their captain Paul Rees, who's Swansea based, they really enjoy these visits. They really enjoy going to these colloquial grounds, these quirky grounds, so to speak. And no, it was a very nice day down there in Hook, and they batted first, and they batted very well, and it was good for the Hook players, obviously, to have that with no rain, with rain washing out their Saturday League campaign then as well. So no, MCC couldn't speak highly enough, actually, and they bring a lot to Pembrokeshire, and they're always prepared, if they can, to bring a side down to mark an occasion for a club.
On Sunday as well, we had the Aled Davies 100 competition in Carew and the Rob Benjamin Memorial match in Whitland go ahead. Let's just talk about the two separately, because they're both two fantastic occasions. I was worried about both of them. I was worried that the Aled Davies 100 and this Memorial game wouldn't go ahead. So we should say first up, well done to the organisers for getting them on, Fraser, because that must have been a bit concerning, certainly on Saturday.
Yeah, and it came down here Sunday morning as well, so I think it was actually a delayed start in Carew. But no, we've spoken about these two figures before. Two great people of Pembrokeshire cricket, and then two people being commemorated in such a great way. And yeah, I think Carmarthen Wanderers took the Aled Davies tournament, the 100 again, but just so pleased they could get that on, because we've had Tom on this show. We know how much goes into it. And in Whitland as well, it was a poignant occasion with Rob Benjamin, so loved there for cricket and rugby circles and beyond. And to have Mike Phillips down there, always a bit of an attraction as well, former Whitland cricket player, and a good crowd there as well, and a good turnout. So, so much goes into these days. They're for poignant reasons. They're for people who meant a lot to people around them. So to see them washed out, we've been really disappointed. So really pleasing that both could go ahead.
Yeah, that's excellent news. So we featured the Aled Davies 100, didn't we, on the show just a couple of weeks ago. I'm sure we'll have some details about how much they actually managed to raise this time, because they do a brilliant job for a whole variety of really good causes as well. So well done to the organisers of both of those for getting them on. Let's just move away from Pembrokeshire cricket. You were at Old Trafford, weren't you? I think you were there for the days where there was some play. You were there Wednesday and Thursday, Fraser. So how were those 2 days, first of all? Then we'll come to what happened, of course, in the end.
I mean, the opening day was actually, for the first time in the series, it was actually quite edgy. You always sensed at one point Australia were one partnership, and England were 2 wickets away from taking total control. No one really did. I think England finished it slightly on top. Australia, I think, finished that 299 for 8. And then the second day is just one of those occasions that you remember for the rest of your life, to be honest. That 175 runs in 25 overs in a session is something I never thought I'd see live in Test cricket. Zach Crawley's innings roded like a little bit like Zach Crawley does, but played one of the great Ashes innings, for all the criticisms and drawbacks around him. He is a wonderful player when on form. So, to seeing them bat like that, and to set up what should have been a win like that, it was superb. It was great to be at, a great atmosphere. And it's just a real shame. I'm not saying that from an England point of view. It's a real shame that it's finished the way it has, and Australia retained the Ashes in that way. I think 2-2 going into the Oval would have done the series justice. It would have been a fantastic occasion. One of probably the most watched Test of all time, I would have thought, if they'd gone 2-2 into the Oval. Unfortunately, that won't happen now. So, yeah, quite literally a damp squiv in the end.
What did you make of England's tactics then? Because you were there Wednesday and Thursday. We got to Thursday evening. Obviously, we were all set to watch the Haverford game, but followed it through. And my feeling on Thursday was, we need to move this game along a bit, because it's going to rain very heavily come Saturday and Sunday. Sunday was, in the end, actually was the worst day. We didn't do that. I was actually at cricket on Friday myself. I was watching Gloucestershire against Glamorgan, and Glamorgan gave Gloucestershire a bit of a lesson, actually. But we were obviously following the Ashes at the same time, and I don't know. I felt England deciding to bat on and on as they did right the way to the end on Friday, I thought was a mistake. And I just thought, this is a game we need to win. So actually probably have to be prepared to lose as well. If there was a time for a funky declaration like the one we saw at Edgbaston, was it not Thursday?
I felt they could have declared certainly on Friday earlier than they did. I understood them coming out and adding more runs, but you're right. I think the race, I don't think anyone envisaged there'll be that little play over the 2 days. The forecasters, when I was there in Manchester, were predicting a washout Saturday, and yet hopeful of a good few hours on Sunday. It didn't materialise that way. But with the forecast in mind, I thought they took a risk batting as long as they did Friday, building up a lead. On that, no, it did put more pressure on the Australians then, who came, and unfortunately they did Labuschagne and Marsh a real resistance on Saturday, which kind of staved off any threat of defeat in the end. But they'd made the neglect when they batted through on Friday and then took the 4 wickets before the close. It looked the correct decision then. I thought it looked justified, but I think at that point we didn't realise that Sunday was going to be a washout as well. So the forecasters were a lot more hopeful for Sunday. So I see your point. But it's such a difficult one, relying on forecasts for an international captain.
I was a bit surprised, actually. I did think we might see Stokes and McCullum really roll the dice here, because just knowing how we've played our cricket over the last year or so, they don't like draws, do they? So I think they'll do everything they can to try and avoid that, and just to try and maximise it. I just felt we went just a bit too long, and maybe thinking Johnny Bester getting his 100 would be great for his morale, but actually I just wanted to see us bowling again. And you think, we could have then had that small 30 overs actually we got on Saturday, didn't we? And you think, well, if they'd been 5 or 6 down, nerves then set in a bit more. Could have seen a bit more from Mark Wood on Friday as well, and Chris Wokes, who've been firing. That did surprise me a bit, and it's hard to criticise the way this England team play. I just wonder if there was something from Edgbaston and the stick that Stokes got for that declaration. Was that just that if he hadn't have done that, then would he have been a bit bolder here? It's all set up still though, because I still think, although England can't win the Ashes and Australia have retained them, I think England will want to draw this series. So I think they'll be taking it very seriously at the Oval, and I also think Australia won't necessarily want to just they'll take the fact they've retained it, but they'll want something to celebrate at the end of it. So it might not be quite what it would have been. There's still something on the Oval though, Fraser.
I think there's a lot on it. Australia have not won a series in England since 2001. None of this current set of players have ever won a series in England. And you're talking about the likes of David Warner, Steve Smith, Pat Cummins, potential great names of Australian cricket will go down tagged by the fact that they never beat England in England during an Ashes series. And you look at the generations before them and how dominant they were on these shores for so long. I think it'll matter a lot to them. I think you go back to 2019, even Steve Smith was interviewed before, Justin Langer as well, how it was almost anticlimactic that they took a 2-2 draw back to Australia. They retained the earn, but having been ahead in the series, and they'd be 2-0 ahead in this one with 3 to play, remember, to not win from there, does represent some sort of failure. They've retained the earn, that's the main thing when it comes to the Ashes. That's the bottom line. And you're right about England as well. The way this series has gone, I think they'll be kicking themselves for certain phases of play from the first 2 tests, but they will not want to lose this series. They will feel worthy of a draw at least. I
think they'll look back on, being 180 for 1 in the second test. And when they were absolutely in control. That for me is the big moment. In the first test, they left runs out there. I think we talked about that at the time, and there were moments that went against them. Actually, by the end, another 30 runs in that first test may have made a difference. But in the end, there was a good partnership between Cummins and Lyon. Doesn't happen that often, does it? That got them over the line. Joe Root was really ripping it, and so was Moeen Ali. We were putting pressure on them at the time, but that just happened. I think that there have been key moments in this series that England haven't delivered. And don't forget as well, we have won the toss 4 times. So we will say we've had opportunities to win this. So we'll be determined, I think, not to be beaten at the Oval. And that's going to be an interesting finish still to the series. Just a shame, because you can imagine what the build-up would have been like. Had that been a deciding test, it would have just been awesome, wouldn't it? It would have been 2005 all over again. And it's a shame we're not going to get that. But thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been an entertaining series. There's no doubt about it. And 2 teams pretty evenly matched, Fraser, I would say.
Oh, certainly. It's been a gripping day. It's ebbed and flowed. I think we've had, I think you're talking 18 days, if you can include Saturday in Manchester, or there were 2 hours of it. 18 days where it's been tantalising. There hasn't been a boring day. It's been on a knife edge. It's been one of the great series, and it really would have been topped off by, like you say, like a winner takes all at the Oval. But no, it's been fantastic. It's been pulsating cricket to watch, and I think it would have attracted a new audience, if I'm honest, and it would have. We keep fearing the demise of Test cricket. Series like this will only help because it's been captivating.
I have to say, in that game I was at on Friday, we saw another Root. We saw Billy Root.
Root.
Yeah, scored 98 for Glamorgan. He was out too short of 100 actually, but he played quite nicely. But Glamorgan did dominate Gloucestershire really. The weather had a bit of an impact, but it was quite a good game to watch in Cheltenham. So that was good. All right, Fraser, we'll take a moment. We've got the final part of Pure West Sport to come with some local rugby news to wrap things up on tonight's show. And of course, we'll be saying good luck to Haverfordwest again ahead of their game in the Faroe Isles on Thursday evening. That's to come in the final part of tonight's Pure West Sport next.